5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. The only thing we have to fear is fear.
Mile 18.
This is Endurance Nation. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Endurance Nation podcast. I'm Coach Patrick, your host on these different episodes that cover interviews with our members and with industry leaders, as well as regular topics that are pertinent to endurance athlete success. This time around, it's getting close to the fall, and I wanted to let you know that our season is kicking off on November 1st. That's right. Endurance Nation works through seasons, and our winter training program kicks off in earnest on November 1st. If you head over to endurancenation.us, you'll be able to enter your email address to get all the details about what's coming up and learn why starting in November is super important and how we can work with you over the course of the winter using our patented out-season program and the subsequent training phases of the year to create the conditions and knowledge you need to be your better and faster self. And if you're ready to get started early, can't wait till November 1st, we have a durability program for you too. So once again, head over to endurancenation.us, enter that email, learn more about what we are doing here over the course of the year, why Endurance Nation is different, why training with a team is the way to go, and how we can help make you successful. Until then, I look forward to hearing from you online somewhere, and sit back here now and enjoy this episode.
Endurance Nation.
Hey folks, Coach Patrick here, Endurance Nation, back with another Coach Videocast podcast. I do this every week as a conversation to help you become a smarter, stronger athlete, in that order, of course. We believe inside Endurance Nation that sharing out the lessons that we've learned, both with inside the team and also with our friends and training partners, whether you're here online or you're here inside my town or my neighborhood, makes all of us better and stronger athletes. And the more that we work together collaboratively, we'll be able to unleash our own individual personal potential simply because we stop reinventing the wheel. We learn lessons from one another instead of making the mistakes ourselves. We get stronger, have a ton of fun along the way. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you a little bit about that bucket list. We're going to have that bucket list conversation, not bucket list in terms of like, things I want to do before I die, but more so things that I want to do that are going to help me become a better athlete. I think that the reason why this conversation is important, why it comes up for me at the end of the year, is that this is the perfect time of year to make room for your bucket list. In season, we have trouble adding things to our list. If you're an endurance athlete and training here, you're paying attention to this video, then you're pretty serious. It's hard to find time to do just everything that you want to do in the first place. When you get into that space, we sort of fall into a trap of managing things with our time, right? Like our total block of what's possible. We sort of have these different routes and paths of things that come together. And as a result, we end up in a space where we're just trying to think about what it means to be successful from an athletic standpoint with the goals that we've set out. We don't have flexibility. We don't have the means to which to be able to process new stuff. The only exception to that rule is, should something go wrong with our season, should a race be canceled, should you have an issue come up or change in plans, then that flexibility suddenly not created by you, but generally happening to you becomes an opportunity. But outside of that, is it possible to actually factor in some fun adventures that are complementary along the way? Now, this is really important. And I'm going to tell you why. You ready? So number reason why we want to have bucket list conversations is that the majority of us place emphasis on peak performance. We want to spend as much time as possible in that peak performance state. So you had a great year last season. This has been fantastic. You had a great August, let's say, great race, right? Awesome. You love that vibe. You love August you, right? You love fit August you. You love fast August you. You felt good. You looked good. You were moving good. All that was awesome, right? So you're like, why can't I have that in December or January or February, March? The downside of that is our bodies only have so much capacity to sustain that level of peak performance. And the other times of the year, we want to do work, we want to be fit, but we're not trying to put it all cumulatively together. All of the volume, all of that requisite fatigue, the stress, the cortisol, everything that goes into that block that allows for adaptation and then has you go out and have that peak performance, that's super costly. right? It's crazy, crazy costly. And to try and replicate that elsewhere is actually a fool's mission, right? You're going to end up in a place where you simply will be detrimentally affecting the rest of your year. And so bucket list events become helpful because they replace the aspirations for that peak level fitness because they don't fall into the same category of peak level fitness, right? So if I'm an Ironman triathlete right here, I could pick a bucket list item like saying, I want to go run rim to rim to rim. Right. So it's a running event. It's a long event. I've got to go very aerobically. It's not my typical training paradigm. It's going to force me outside of my comfort zone, but it's also not something that I can really do for time. That's a perfect bucket list item. Another simple bucket list item that people typically do here in the Northeast, they go hiking, right? They go to New Hampshire and try and hike a bunch of peaks. So go to New York, try and do all of the hills that are over, what is it, like, I don't know, 4,000 feet, the 49ers, I think, trying to find some sort of athletically oriented, active bucket list item, do Kilimanjaro, right? Go out there and sort of climb Kilimanjaro if you wanted to do that. That allows you to be fit, to be focused. It's complementary work to your overall mission of the year, but it's not something that's going to fall into the trap of having you do what you normally do. So for example, saying if your bucket list item is to compete in Norseman, like one of the hardest triathlons on the planet, that's cool, but that's a lot like your other stuff that you're already doing if you're a long course athlete. So while that is a bucket list, that's not what I'm talking about here. We're looking for bucket list items that complement the work that you're doing, but also offer a different mental focus from where you've been before. So here's a couple of things that I hope will help you think through this process, kind of lead you to a place of conclusions that will put you in a position to be really successful, not only with your season, but also emotionally as well. Because the cost of being focused and trying to be game on all the time has a cost, both physical, but also mental as well. And the bucket list is really meant to sort of inject some fun into your season and allow you to continue on your forward path, but without such intentionality. Okay. So number one, the power of adventure. So a great bucket list item is something that challenges you from a fitness perspective, but does so because you simply lack the skill. So I have an aerobic engine, but I'm not a great climber. So if I'm going to climb, a bunch of peaks, I've got to try and learn something new. If I'm going to do like a rucking race, like, 25-pound weight in a backpack and walk for 6 hours, that's a different undertaking. I've got to identify like new ways to prepare for it. I've got to do different stuff. It's going to make me fit and resilient, but the skill set required has really dropped down my performance goals. So I bring the energy, right? I bring the passion, I bring that mental endurance, but I have to learn. That's a great option for you. So get outside of your lane and just do something a little different and keep the adventure going, which makes it super fun, right? Number two, choose two options, right? So we don't want to get locked into like a single bucket list item. Some of them can be complicated and some of them can be touch and go. After all, you've got your sort of go-to items that you typically do every season as an endurance athlete. Picking up a bucket list item actually may be harder than you think when you really start to unpack it. So always have two options out there for a bucket list. So, if I'm an endurance triathlete again, and I pick this rim to rim to rim challenge to do all of this ultra running, I need to pick something else. But, if ultra running goes wrong for me or something should come up with that, what's my go-to item that's maybe not run related? So I may pick something cycling related, right? I may want to cycle so much in a week. I may want to cycle, around my state. I may want to cycle from here to Maine. I have no idea. Here on the East Coast, states are very close together. So not as perhaps as epic as it sounds for those of you who could just bike across Michigan and go much further than I would going to Maine. But the concept remains the same, right? So trying to think about something a little different, not in that same discipline, potentially a different time of year, different groups of people, just kind of gives you a backup plan, which is kind of always nice, right? Your bucket list should speak to your sort of challenge overall, like to life. Like, why are we active? Why are we here? Like, so we're training for a race. We use it as a mechanism to be fit. It's a tool that we've sort of honed as a craft and move forward. But overall, what are you really about? So for me, it's the joy of movement. Like, I do a 5-hour workout on my bike. I did one this morning. I am energized by that. Like, I'm tired, like physically, but internally super full of energy. Like, it just makes me feel awesome and I'm all about it. So having adventures or bucket list items that allow me to be moving for a long period of time, awesome, right? So going on and doing like a super fast 5K, that's fun. I guess a bucket list item would be to do it with my family, right? That'd be super fun. but not complementary to the challenge that I sort of have laid out for myself and the idea that I want to keep moving. So maybe there's a 24-hour challenge I could come up with, right? So move for longer, not like super hard, like how far can you go or I have to crush myself, but what would that challenge look like? Like how can I find something that keeps me moving and challenges my skill set, but also meets me where I am in terms of the things that really drive me as an athlete, okay? The next thing I would give you as a tool here for this bucket list conversation is setting a go, no-go date, right? So if you're going to do this bucket list event, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have all the requisite skills. So there's going to be some friction. There has to be a learning curve. And you need to draw a line in the sand, because if you're not going to start doing the work to prepare for that goal or that work, then it's not really going to be super fun, unless it's like a relay with friends and, hey, whatever, we're just going to go have a ton of fun with people. That's great. But if you're actually trying to do something solo, right, which brings a level of responsibility with it, or with one other person, and they're going to be dependent on you for the safety and just the execution of that event, then there's actual preparation that's involved. And it's really important to have a go, no go date on that, simply because it's a bucket list item. It's not your top priority by definition, right? So it's possible that bucket list item kind of gets pushed. You tell friends over beers, like, let's do that thing. It sounds awesome. And then you forget about it, and you've been training and staying active. So your friends are like, oh, look, she's doing all the work. Like, she's totally getting ready. They check back in with you and you're like, oh, you know what? I never bought that ticket and never told my significant other, and I'm not sure it's really going to happen, and you've kind of left everyone up a creek. So draw that date on the calendar, have it on your digital calendar, have it written down, have a post-it note in your training, like pain cave, whatever that may be. But definitely want to make sure that we draw that line so we know that you're in, because then from then on out, where things get serious with it, even with the bucket list, we want to do it well, right? So perfect, right? And last but not least, final recommendation here for the bucket list piece is don't lose the fun, right? So you want to pick a challenge that's fun, but we don't want to pick a challenge that's so big that it actually becomes maybe not fun, right? So hiking mountains in New Hampshire sounds awesome. Hiking mountains in New Hampshire in December sounds borderline deadly. Like, I wouldn't want to be up there. The people are always getting caught out in the weather and the storms and lack of trails and navigation skills. So we want to have a fine line. So even the simple thing of getting out and being active can turn from a fun adventure, August, to not so fun, December ice climbing, right? So make sure that you've set up all of the parameters such that you can do this type of event. It's something that you're excited about doing, kind of lights a little bit of a fire inside of you. It speaks to you, right? It's identified with your personal challenge. It's going to help you overall by moving you towards your long-term goals as an endurance athlete. And it's going to sustain you beyond this, because really the challenge events, these sort of bucket list items, this is what you're going to talk about. Your race that you have on your calendar and the things that you really focus on and you're specific about, those may or may not go well. And you could be excited about it or maybe not excited about it. But we definitely know that if you go out there and do this sort of epic thing, that's going to be the highlight. That's the picture on the front of your album for the year. That's the one that you share with other people and they say, what was that? Like, what were you doing there? Break out of the mold. Use this as an opportunity to not only diversify your portfolio of activities, but perhaps also your social circles, and maybe even learn some new capacity or new skill that you weren't aware of that you had because you'd really been focused on a single lane. Diversity is the spice of life. And as an athlete, exploring other elements or other attributes of what an endurance lifestyle could bring to you is a really important step in your long-term journey. As we age, evolve, our sports evolve, the globe, the world, the travel, all of that evolves as well. Being able to switch and toggle and be flexible with the events that you're training for will make sure that long-term wise, you're on track, be able to hit those goals and have the season and the adventure that you want. This has been Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation. As a reminder, it is December 2022, and we do have our membership drive open for this month. It's the second of the year. We only have 3 of them. The next one will not be until April, which is for our race prep season only. So December really becomes your last chance to join the team, and you can learn more at endurancenation.us/new join, where you can go over there and just see what's possible, kind of dial all that in, and we hope that you check us out. 30-day money-back guarantee, so you don't worry about anything, got nothing to lose. I'll be able to get on the phone with you, and we'll be able to talk through everything, see how things are going, and get you dialed in with your races and connect you with the team. All right, folks, take care. Thanks so much for joining in. I'll talk to you soon. Hope to see you inside the team.
For more information about Endurance Nation, visit us online at endurancenation.us. The provided music is from the Podshow Podsafe Music Network. Check it out at music.podshow.com.